Greetings and welcome to a Spooky Lessons with Odin. Today is part 1 of this ginormous Lariat tutorial. This was an adventure to create. I had originally wanted to turn this kind of into like a grandfather clock looking thing with like the two dangly bits. And I attempted to create a face on the pendant and the focal, and it just didn't look as nice as I wanted it to. So I stuck with this. I have little dangly parts at the end of the focal going on here. I tried to go with like a 12 midnight type deal with one of these, and since I didn't do the clock face, I didn't bother to take it apart. However, that being said, these pastels are not very fun. They kind of chip off in their coating, and it's just kind of annoying. But anyway, I have done this with a 27mm one, but since I didn't do the clock face one, and I didn't have to keep the 12s, you can do it with an 18mm as well. I would probably get rid of 4. This whole piece was done in a set of 12, so with an 18, I'd try and do it with sets of 8 instead and see where that gets you. On this lesson, we are going to be learning how to do the rope, and in the next lesson, we'll do the focal and attaching. So, this lariat can actually be by itself if you want to make a super long one and just, like, turn it into a choker lariat, the one where you, like, tie it at your neck and have fun with that. This is taking knowledge from the herringbone rope, as well as my old tutorial of the transition between herringbone and netted rope, but we're actually using right angle weave instead inside these pieces, so it's just a little fun transition. If you want to know more about those techniques, I'll leave links all over in the description box as well as up in the eye here. But yes, this is a very fun piece, and I put it in my, I added pretty much my trademark Raven skulls on this one, but you can use whatever themes you want. Now for the materials, I'm just going to describe what you need for the rope, and all of the materials, the master list will be down in the description, so that just in case you don't want to make both pieces, you can just take what you want from this video. But to start off, you will need 3 colors of size 11 Delicas. You will need probably about 5 grams of 2 of the colors, and then something probably closer to 10 to 15 of the first color, color A. Like, for example, my color A is my black, my matte black. My color B is the stripes in the middle, as well as the connections, and then I just used very sparingly color C just to add a little different pop to it. Hindsight, you can't really tell what it is, but that's life. You will need 4mm pearls and 3mm fire polish beads. You can probably swap what shapes you use and what sizes you use. You just need a 3mm and a 4mm. This design is really flexible, so you can do whatever you want. Now, I have connections here. This is where we're going to use them. For each connection, I've used 4 of the 4mm size and 8 of the 3mm size. And my piece had 15 connections. So if we do some math, I have used 60 4mm beads and 120 of the 3mm beads. Now, I have a fat head, so that's why I needed so many. Because the way I did this, I didn't want to mess around with clasps, so I have attached the pendant right here. And so leaving about 10 sections for the clasp. I put it in between the 9th and the 10th. Or the 10th and the 11th, sorry. Put that between the 10th and the 11th here so that I can stretch it around my head without using a clasp. And I can kind of generally futz with the length of it. But if you want to make a longer piece so that you can wrap it around your neck multiple times, those are the numbers that you're going to be looking for. So I'm using 60 of the 4mm, 120 of the 3mm. Your results may vary. You will also need 2 7x17 spike beads to end the bottoms of the rope. Like so. And you also need 8 Diamonduo beads. Now, if you don't have Diamonduos, you can replace the width with the size 15 seed beads and just put them in between like that. But I use Diamonduos since they matched with the focal piece, and that is kind of nifty. I might do more with this pattern because I really liked how that turned out. We'll also need one color of size 15 seed beads and one color of size 11 seed beads, something that kind of matches with the Delicas. In this example, my size 15s matched the rest of the color A beads, and then I just used something contrasting for the size 11. And of course, your needle and thread. Now, since this is a rope, I was pretty comfortable doing a very thick thread with this, so I used Wildfire just to try it out. I'll have more details on my thoughts on threads later, but I used this Wildfire and a size 10 needle. Feel free to use a heavier weight fire line, like a 6 to 8 pound. You can use Nymo if you want, but I'm not comfortable with it personally, but do what you will, but don't blame me if something happens. So, anyway, with all that being said, let us get started. So we're going to basically start at the bottom of the rope and work upward, and we're going to start with making one of these connections here. So I'm going to thread on 4 of my 3mm beads, pull that down. I'm going to leave about a 10 to 12 inch tail so that I can do my spike end at the opposite side. Then I'm going to pass back through all of these beads once more so that I form a loop. Like that. Then I'm going to take my tail and working thread and tie an overhand knot. Then I'm just going to pass through one of my beads, but I don't want to hide the knot inside there, so I don't want that to be a pain in the ass when I'm trying to pull this through. But I'm going to add one size 11 bead and pass through to the next 3mm bead, and do that until I have added 11 O's in between each of the gaps. Like so, and I want to end up coming out of a 3mm bead. Then I'm going to start my right angle weave. So I'm going to add a 4mm, a 3mm, and a 4mm. Then I'm going to pass back through that same bead that I'm coming out of in order to form a loop, like that. Then I'm going to pass through the next size 11 and the next 3mm bead, add on one 4mm, one 3mm, and pass back down through the 4mm bead so that we start our cubic right angle weave. Then to finish the stitch, I'm going to pass through the 3mm bead that's on the bottom where we started from and the next size 11, so that we have 2 walls built on our square. Then I'm going to go through the next 3mm bead and repeat so that we build another wall. So I add a 4mm and a 3mm, pass back down through the 4mm, the other end, like that. Then I'm going to finish the stitch by passing through the next 3mm, so that we have 3 of our 4 beads. Now I'm going to travel up through the 4mm, where our thread is coming out of, add on one 3mm, go down and jump across the next 4mm to bridge that gap. Then I'm going to pass through the 3mm down below, back up the 4mm, then through the 3mm. Now I'm going to go and add a size 11 seed bead and pass through the next 3mm bead so that we wedge these two together. I'm going to repeat that until I have size 11 seed beads all the way around between those corners. And do we finish off like that? Now I want to have my thread coming out of the size 11 seed bead. I'm going to then add 3 size 15s, 1 size 11, 3 size 15s. I'm going to go diagonally. My thread is coming from the top right. I'm going to move down to the bottom left. I form a cross between the 2 pearls at one face. I'm going to repeat the same thing. I'm going to add 3 15s, 1 11, 3 15s, but I'm coming from the bottom right. Now I'm going to move to the top left to form my diagonal in the opposite direction. I'm going to rotate my piece around, and now I'm back at the right at the top. I'm going to go diagonal to the bottom, then finally up, once again kind of forming a zigzag of diagonals. So I've got my sets of beads. Gonna go down, add another set of beads, and go up. And that is what our section looks like right now. Now, in order to fill in the rest of the crosses, what I'm going to do is pass through the next 3mm and size 11. I'm going to add 3 size 15s and pass down through the size 11 in the center of that diagonal we've added. Pull that through to form 3 sets of the cross. Add on 3 more size 15s and go down to the size 11 at the bottom corner, so that we will have completed the cross. Then we rotate, add on 3 size 15s, move up through the size 11 in between the diagonal of beads, add on 3 more size 15s, and finish the cross by passing through the size 11 at the diagonal, so that we formed another set. Repeat that so that we complete all 4 of the crosses on all sides. And that is what we end up with. So next we're going to set up our herringbone stitch. My thread is currently coming out of a size 11 seed bead. I'm going to use 2 Delicas. This is my color B Delicas, the ones that we use the second most. And I'm going to pass back through that size 11 bead so that the 2 sit on top. And this will be the basis of our herringbone. I'm going to then pass through the next 3mm size 11, add on 2 more Delicas, and pass back through the size 11 seed bead so that the Delicas sit right on top. Move around and add 2 Delicas on the other 2 beads. So once you have added Delicas on all 4 of your size 11 seed beads, you're going to simply pass up through the same Delica where your thread is coming out of. So you can see right now my thread is coming out of the right side. I'm going to go up the right Delica. And here we're going to start our herringbone stitch. So I've added 2 color bead Delicas. I'm going to go down the next Delica, just like in our herringbone. Then I'm going to add 2 size 15 seed beads and pass up the next Delica so that we pinch that gap together. Add on 2 more Delicas and do another herringbone stitch. Add on 2 size 15s, go up the next Delica, add 2 Delicas, go down and do a herringbone stitch with the next Delica, add 2 size 15s and go up the next Delica, create 1 more herringbone stitch, add on 2 size 15s, and since this is the last stitch, I'm going to travel up through 2 Delicas to get to my next row. So I'm going to add another herringbone stitch, this time to pinch the gap closer together. I'm going to add only 1 size 15 and then pick up the second row of the Delica next over, so that we start to pinch that together. Add another herringbone stitch, add 1 size 15, go up the second row of your herringbone, 1 herringbone stitch, 1 seed bead into the second row, another herringbone stitch, adding 1 seed bead, and since I am at the end of my row, I'm going to jump up 2 Delicas. This will be the second and the third in order to finish our row. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add my herringbone stitch, but then I'm going to move immediately over to the next Delica and not pick up any more size 15s. So I'm kind of closing the gap there. So doing another stitch, immediately picking up the next Delica, adding another herringbone stitch, immediately picking up the next Delica, going down the next stitch, and since I am at my last one, I'm going to pick up the last 2 seed beads to step up for the next row. And from there, I can continue on with my tubular herringbone. So this is the pattern I have chosen between my connections. I have done 9 of my color A's, 2 color B's, 3 color A's, 2 color B's, 3 color A's, 1 color C, 3 color A's, 2 color B's, 3 color A's, 2 color B's, finishing off with 9 color A's before I move on to my next connection. So I'm just going to continue on my rope here. I've got 2 beads. I go down the next Delica, go up the next one, add 2 and go down the next bead, go up, add 2 and go down, go up, add 2 and go down. Then since this is my last one, I'm going to pick up the last 2 beads and then continue on with my tubular herringbone. So go ahead and do whatever pattern you like for between your connections, and I'll show you how to increase the beadwork so you can continue on and make your next connection. So this is what I have after my completed pattern. I've got my 9, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 2, 9, and I did a final 2 rows of color B. And we're going to work on that to expand to create our next connection. Now it's basically the same exact steps except we're doing them backwards. So before we were pinching it together to make it closer, this time we're widening it. So we're basically going to step up and go in this direction. So I'm going to continue on doing my herringbone as normal, adding on 2 Delicas, going down the next Delica. Then to gradually start spreading it apart, I'm going to add 1 size 15 and go up the next Delica, add on my 2, add my next herringbone, add 1 size 15 and go up the next Delica. Add my next herringbone stitch, add on 1 size 15, then go up the next Delica. Add on my last herringbone stitch, add 1 size 15, and since I need to step up to add a next row, I go up through 2 Delicas instead of just 1. Now we begin to open up our beadwork so that we can start to add our 3mm beads. So I'm coming from the top of the Delica beads. I'm going to add 1 size 11 bead and go down the next Delica bead, just like a normal herringbone, except now this size 11 will sit in between the 2 Delica beads. Then I'm going to widen this further by adding 2 size 15s and going up the Delica bead. Add 1 size 11 and go down the next Delica. Add 2 size 15s and go up the next Delica. 1 size 11, go down the next Delica. 2 size 15s, go up the next Delica. Add on my last size 11, go down the Delica. Add on my 2 size 15s, and since I need to step up, I'm going to go through the next Delica as well as the size 11 seed bead at the top. And that is fully opened. So now I'm going to add my 3mm bead and then pass through the next size 11. And I'm going to do that all the way around until I have completed all 4 of the gaps. Like that. Now, this step is right where we were in the very beginning, where we added our single ring of 4 beads and put in size 11 beads in the middle, in between them. So the next thing we need to do is pass through the 3mm bead, then we can start our right angle weave, which from here, the steps are exactly the same. You start off with your 4mm, 3mm, 4mm, you pass back through this, go around, add 2 beads, go around, add 2 beads, go around, and add only 1 to cinch everything together. Then you add your little rope details. Then you pinch together your herringbone stitch. And finally, continue on with your big rope. So repeat those sections, adding on your connections and your herringbone rope sections until you have the length you want. Once again, I have used 15 total connections. so that I make sure I can fit this around my head, but use whatever you like. You can even shorten these connections and do something that is unique to you. Next up, we're going to be ending our rope. On one side, we have already set it up so that we have all of our 3mm at the top with the beads all the way around. This is where you want to stop at the other end when you're ready to complete your rope. So I want my thread to be coming out of one of the 3mm beads. I'm going to thread on my spike, and then I'm going to do a figure 8 with the 3mm bead across the way. So I'm going to pass back through the 3mm bead across the way, so that when we pull that tight, our spike starts to go close. Then I'm going to pass my needle through the spike again, then move back through the opposite side of the 3mm bead that we started from, so that we anchor the spike in place. You can choose to reinforce this if you want, but since I'm using such a thick thread, I don't think it's necessary. Next, I'm going to move over to the next size 11 seed bead, and we're going to add our herringbone bases like we've done with a regular connection. So I'm going to add 2 beads and go back through the size 11. Move over to the next size 11 and do the same thing all the way around until you have all 4 sections completed. Once you've done that, we're going to step up so that we continue to our next row. We'll add 1 more herringbone stitch, go down, add on 1 hole of our Diamonduo or our Gemduo, then go up through the next Delica, so that it sits against the spike bead. Add on another herringbone stitch and repeat until you've anchored all of the Diamonduos. Make sure the top is facing the correct orientation as you're stitching these on. When you get to the last one, don't forget to step up by passing through 2 rows of the herringbone. Set up for the new row. And that is what we end up with. So what we're basically going to do is reinforce this, adding a strip of herringbone in between the Diamonduos and making sure that we cinch everything together. So what I'm going to do is add on 2 more Delicas. I'm going to go down 2 beads instead of just 1 when I add my new stitch. Then I'm going to pass through the same bottom hole of that Diamonduo. Then I'm going to go up 2 and repeat all the way around. Make sure you kind of keep your thread tension tight to make sure that the duos stitch together. When you're at your very last row, you're going to go up 3 beads instead of 2 to step up for the next stitch. Now that these are kind of wide apart, what we're going to do is pinch them together with the next rows. So I'm going to add 2, go down 1, and then go through the top hole of the Diamonduo to sort of pinch them together. This is where tension gets kind of important. Then we're going to pick up 1, the top Delica bead from the next herringbone column, add our herringbone stitch, and pass through the next Diamonduo. Repeat that all the way around until you've finished the row. And don't forget, when you're at your last row, you pick up 2 Delica beads instead of just 1. We're going to add 1 more row of herringbone, adding on 2, going down 1, then passing through the Diamonduo. Pick up 1, and then continue all the way around. Don't forget to pick up 2 beads on your final round. For the last row, all we're going to do is pick up 1 size 15, then go down 2 beads, then pick up the Diamonduo, go up 2 beads, then you add on your size 15, go down 2 beads through the Diamonduo, and repeat that until you get to the last set, where you're going to pick up the top 2 Delica beads and then the final size 15 at the top. From there, you can end your threads and have your completed rope. And that is how we complete this spooky, fancy rope. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and have kind of advanced your knowledge of tubular herringbone to kind of apply it for your own projects and designs. Join us next time where we learn how to do this focal piece as well as attaching it to the rope. That should be coming next week, so be sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. And be sure to check out my Patreon page. I have a new design revealed. October's design is this wonderful blood drip choker, which it looks like you've got a little vampire bite here. using some Zolly duos, or you can even use Paisley duos with that. It's a really fun, lovely choker. Very gothy, very, very much into my aesthetic. It's very sparkly and shiny. So I will leave links to my Patreon page if you'd like to join for that. You have to join at the Muser level to gain access to this tutorial, along with some other designs that I've already had listed from previous months. So, if you're interested, I hope to see you there. And I think that will do it from me. Be sure to like up this video and subscribe if you want to see more bullshit from me. Check out my other shenanigans right here on YouTube that I do in order to humiliate myself on the internet. I hope you are enjoying Octoberween. Feel free to check out my other Octoberween celebrations from the past years. There will be links down below and in the cards and everywhere in accessible places. And check out my SciFi, because I'm still writing things, and some fun rambling adventures happen there from time to time. All pertinent links will be down below. Thank y'all so much for joining me, and of course, if there's anything I need to be trying out right now, feel free to let me know down below, and I will see you next time.